Welcome to the channel. Welcome to today's run through of all the latest Manchester United news and transfer updates, keeping you right up to date with everything. I'm Jamie. Before getting into it, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. Still cracks me up, that one. Right, let's go through a little bit of team news that's been doing the rounds ahead of big game tonight, isn't it? Especially with the results going in our favour. I was predicting on Friday when I did the preview that a lot of the teams around us would actually win their games. Yeah, it's worked out massively in our favour. If we can get a win tonight, I mean, a 4-0 win would be ideal. That puts us into fourth. We could be, fourth stroke fifth, which with the run of games that we've got, we need to get those points in the bag, because then we've got to worry about AFCON and losing, arguably some of our best players in Mbumo and Ahmad for sure. But yeah, let's go through a little bit of team news that's come out ahead of tonight. So Lissandro Martinez and Kobe Mainoo are both set to return and be included back in the Manchester United squad against Everton today. That's just come out from Sully Talks. There's been a bit of conflicting news regarding their inclusion in the squad tonight, but Sully's normally fairly decent and fairly reliable when it comes to like team news and injuries and stuff like that as well. But he's saying that Martinez and Mainu both in the squad ahead of tonight's big game with Everton. There is a doubt over Mateus Cunha. So MUFC Academy, again, fairly decent normally when it comes to like team news and injuries and stuff, saying that Mateus Cunha will have a fitness test this afternoon. And if he's not cleared, Chido Obi is expected to join the Manchester United squad for tonight's match against Everton. Obviously, we had the news the other day that he'd missed a Christmas event because of a head injury, I think it was. So whether it's part of a concussion protocol, which means he might not, be available for tonight. Hopefully, it's not too serious and we can have Cunha back. But then that would maybe open up the door for Joshua Zirkzee and, as mentioned there, Chido Obi to come in on the bench and be our backup sort of striker. It's interesting because Ruben Amorim was talking about Cheeto in his embargoed press conference, saying that he kind of felt that last season he was brought in a little bit too early because it wasn't the right moment in the team. We weren't settled, and he wants to give the youngsters more training time with the first team to get them up to speed before throwing them into Premier League games. And so maybe Cheeto is one that has benefited from that sort of slower approach, I think, this season from Amorim and integrating into the youth team. But I'm going to go on to more of that in a second. But interestingly, Shea Lacey is set to be on the bench for Manchester United against Everton tonight. So it said Nave Salt as well. Nave Salt's a good source of information as well. I think Man United Academy did say that as well. So we could possibly see a few of the young players on the bench tonight to cover for. Obviously, Sesko's out. We know that. Potentially Cunha, a little bit of doubt ahead of the game going off of those reports. Hopefully not. Hopefully Cunha can make it, because don't want to throw too many young players into what essentially I think is a must-win game, especially with the points dropped by teams around us as well. It's essential that we don't, it gives us a bit of momentum with the run of games that we've got coming up as well. On Shea Lacey himself, though, in his press conference, Ruben Amorim had the following to say: "I'm really happy with him. I think he struggled a little bit with injuries. He did a very good job balancing his body. You can sense he can manage more load during training. He has a lot of talent. But when they come here, they can sense the speed is completely different. So they need to spend more time with us to be prepared, because our trainings are hard, but Premier League games with pressure are harder. So they need to be ready." And I'm quite impressed with that with Ruben Amorim. Actually, it's a good point, isn't it, to think in that the jump from obviously under 21s to Premier League football must be absolutely ginormous for some of these young players. And I like the fact that he is taking his time to make sure that they are ready and up to speed as much as he can do without throwing them into a Premier League game, because obviously you can't train for that without actually putting them putting them on the bench and giving them some minutes as well. Hopefully, we're in a comfortable position though where we can bring on some of these players. My only concern is, one, we always seem to get a nosebleed when it's like this situation where if we win, we can climb up the table. We always seem to shit the bed and end up dropping points. So I hope that's not the case today. And then secondly, our second half performances have been very concerning recently as well, letting leads slip. So hopefully we're in a position where we're comfortable and we can maybe introduce Shea Lacey, because he's going to need to get some Premier League games in, because he is going to be provided cover for Mbumo and Ahmad when they go to AFCON as well. So if you can give him a few minutes here and there as the build up now, so that when Mbumo and Ahmad do go, if you are having to rely on Shea Lacey a bit more, he's not just thrown straight into the deep end. So I like that sort of approach from Ruben Amorim. On the youth as well, he did say, which I found really interesting in his pre-match press conference, had the following to say regarding the sort of academy. So he was asked, you mentioned about preparing the academy. Do you feel you can trust a lot more of the youngsters now? You maybe haven't had the chance yet, but you get so many of them into training. Are they closer to what you need for the first team? And he said, yeah, first of all, I'm not preparing the academy. They are preparing their academy. We are paying more attention to them. We are talking to them. That is so important to change information about the players, what they need, how they behave. To call a kid for the first team, they need to behave very well. So they need to have obviously a little bit about them in terms of their character and personality. We're putting everything in place. Nutrition is for the academy. It starts now in our club. That is something that should be basic. So is he alluding to the fact that maybe the academies, maybe this is what Sir Jim was saying around the academy not quite being what it used to be, is maybe they have let the standard slip where they're not looking after themselves quite as much as they should be to prepare themselves to get into the first team. Whereas now, obviously under Ineos and Ruben Amorim, that seems to all changed, and all the backroom staff changes as well, with the academy. So hopefully it's going to be, stand us in a better position to bring through some young players that can actually stay in the first team and have a bit of longevity as well. So that's nuts, isn't it? Because Amarin's almost suggesting that the nutrition wasn't very good with the academy. And then he went on to say, so all of these things we are doing, and they are doing their job. I have more time with them in training, so I'm more confident that with them. When we put these kids to play in the Premier League, they will struggle, but they will struggle less. I think everyone in the academy is doing very well at the moment. So I like the sort of softly soft approach, I would say, regarding Ruben Amorim's integration of the young players, bringing them through, training with the first team, getting them up to speed so that they can cope with the level of training required to be a Man United first team player, and then slowly introducing them to Premier League football as well, because that must be daunting for some of these young players, and it is going to be, obviously a lot to take on board as well. So I actually like this approach, as long as it's hopefully we can get the benefit and get some rewards from it, though, by actually bringing through some players that can have a bit of longevity in the first team. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I'm sure you will. Now, one player that might not be getting some time in the first team is Diego Leon, because the reports come out from a good South American journalist suggesting that Diego Leon could be loaned out by Manchester United in January. The young player is open to a temporary move elsewhere to gain more minutes and experience, and I wouldn't be against doing that neither. The same, there's been reports that Sekou Kone might be getting loaned out potentially in January as well. So I think for some of these players that are actually, maybe do deserve to play a bit more first team football to further their career, to send them out on loan, I don't have an issue with doing that as well. I mean, Harry Amas hopefully is going to get the benefit of his loan, because he's doing well at Sheffield Wednesday at the moment. And then maybe Diego Leon could benefit from that as well. So I've got no issue with potentially loaning out a few of the young players, that to give them that first team experience and get them off the ground and get them playing men's football. So no issues with that whatsoever. But give us your thoughts and feelings on that in the comments below, as I am sure that you will. I just hope we can get a win tonight. Give us your score predictions as well in the comments ahead of the game tonight if you haven't done so already. Now let's go through a little bit of transfer news. So we'll kick off with what Romano's had to say. So he had some interesting things to say yesterday. So firstly, on Casemiro's future, he said, my understanding is that the situation with Casemiro is a really similar situation in terms of strategy to Harry Maguire, with them both being out of contract in 2026. The desire is now from Man United to obviously continue with Casemiro, but on different conditions. The salary he's on right now is a salary United don't want to pay in the future, because they want to change the salary structure, or they find a solution on the salary structure together. Otherwise, Casemiro could be leaving United in summer 2026. So Fabrizio Romano is essentially confirming what's being touted in the media anyway up until now, is that, look, potentially we do want to do a contract or a new contract with Casemiro, but we're not going to do it on the current wages that he's on. And it's, I suppose, down to Casemiro as to whether he wants to take. It's going to be a significant pay cut, going from 300 odd grand a week down to around 130. I think I read somewhere the other day. Don't quote me on those figures, though, because I'm obviously not negotiating his contract. But it's going to be a significant drop in his salary. Whether he wants to do that at this stage of his career, or whether he'll decide against it because he's going to have some lucrative offers from from maybe the MLS, the Saudi Pro League. We know have had interest in him as well, so, and they're not going to exactly offer him less money than what he's on now. It's going to his salary is going to significantly go up, especially if you enter the Saudi Pro League as well. So we'll have to wait and see what Casemiro decides to do. And the same with Maguire as well. Again, we just need to keep an eye on it. Give us your thoughts. So, what do you think about potentially giving Casemiro and Maguire a new contract? Because I'm sort of torn on it. I've said before in a previous video with the Maguire situation, just make a decision. It's becoming a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but it's a little bit tedious now. And it's like, oh, do we keep Maguire? Do we not? Do we keep Casemiro? Do we not? Just make a decision, and then we'll have to we'll obviously discuss it at that particular time. But give us your thoughts. What do you think? I think there's a pro and a con. The pro are good professionals, experienced senior players, part of the leadership group, and all of that stuff. I mean, and can help help us hopefully get through this transition period where we are trying to change the culture at United. So having as many players like that can help, I can see the benefit of. But then on the flip side, where do we draw the line, and where do we have to move on eventually from some of these players, because it's not like we've been winning titles after title, and it's like saying goodbye to Scholes when he got older, or Ryan Giggs and these sort of players. Do you know what I mean, that were winning title after title with us? It's a little bit different because they're part of the failed squad and the failures at United as well. So I do think we're a little bit slow at just letting players go when you've got the opportunity to do that. We've seen countless times, like we had the opportunity a couple of years ago to maybe let go of Luke Shaw, gave him a new contract, and he got injured persistently for 2 years. I know he's doing well now, but let's not forget he didn't play football for nearly 2 years with us beforehand, with the amount of injuries that he got just after signing a new 5-year contract. And at some point in time, you're like, come on, when do we move on? And maybe now is the right time to do that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Give us your shout. So give us your thoughts on Casemiro and Maguire, giving them a new contract on reduced salaries in the comments below. Be interesting to check those out later. Now, on the sticking with Romano, he's had the following to say on the Here We Go podcast regarding midfielders. So he said, Man United are ready to invest heavily in midfielders in 2026. They want to reshape that area. I'm still keeping Baleba and Anderson on the list. It would be 1 or even 2 signings, depending on opportunity sales and Casemiro's situation. So if Romano is suggesting that if we keep Casemiro, we're only potentially going to go for one of Baleba or Anderson, then I would quite happily let Casemiro go if it meant we could get Anderson and Baleba. I know there's question marks around Baleba, and actually, I'd much rather at the moment, based on current form, go for Joao Gomes ahead of Baleba. But he's a favourite at the club. That's been the sort of narrative coming out from Romano and other places as well, that he is still liked, regardless of there being concerns over his current form. But some of you were saying in comments on the video the other day, saying that actually you'd take Gomez over Baleba right now, and I concur with that as well. I agree. But yeah, so if it meant keeping Casemiro and not getting Anderson and Baleba, then goodbye Casemiro. Let's move on to younger players, midfield players that can be our midfield for the foreseeable future anyway. But yeah, so potentially we could get, or could be looking to get both, according to Romano. If Casemiro stays, maybe we'll only go for one, and that upsets me a little bit, to be fair. And again, you've got to be realistic. How realistic is us for be going for Baleba and Anderson? I mean, if we've got the funds available to do it, then why not? But for me, Anderson's the one. Anderson's the one that we shouldn't be losing out on. Anderson, I don't think. I think he's got the right stuff to come in and potentially be our midfielder for the next 10 years or so. But yeah, give us your thoughts. Interesting from Romano. We know we're ready to get midfielders, but still keeping Baleba and Anderson on the list. It could be 1 or even 2 signings. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, I'd be all over going for Baleba and Anderson, even with the concerns over Baleba's form. But yeah, give us your shouts on that in the comments below. Now, keeping with the midfield, the other player that I just mentioned there is Joao Gomes. Obviously, been a bit of noise around him over the weekend coming from South American sort of reports. Now, Dean Jones has had the following to say regarding his situation as well. So Joao Gomes has had his head turned by Manchester United interest, according to Team Talk sources, but he still faces a big battle to complete a winter move to Old Trafford. It's believed that Man United had taken a similar approach as they did with Brighton's Carlos Baleba, who, as reported, remains interested in joining the Red Devils. United know Wolves do not want to sell Gomes, but have begun to make inroads with the aim that the player is aware of interest ahead of the possibility of a transfer. So I think Dean Jones is effectively alluding to in that part is we're maybe letting Joao Gomes know that we would be interested in a move to see whether he bites at the bait almost, and if he does, then maybe that will start getting a little. Where maybe we'll start making a few more inquiries, and because if he doesn't want to come, we know we're not going to sign players anyway. So if we're reaching out to Gomes and saying, "Hey, you're interested in a winter move to United," if he turns around and says, "No, actually, I don't want to come to you," then we're not going to pursue it any further. But I think they're putting the interest out there, according to Dean Jones, to say like, "Yeah, do you want to come to us?" To maybe get the buy-in from Gomes, or maybe even to start him agitating for a move as well, because Wolves, unless they start massively turning their fortune around, are going to be pretty much in trouble in January. So it is potentially, why we're hearing some of these stories. Going back to the report, though, it says that there is a belief it would cost between 40 to 50 million to lure him away from Molineux, despite a stance from Wolves that the player is absolutely not for sale. Team talk revealed on November the 17th, new Wolves manager Robert Woods has been promised by the club they will not cash in on Gomes in the January window. However, Man United have continued to look at midfield options and believe Gomes may become more attainable than other players on their shortlist. And then it goes on to say Gomes is now waiting to see if the January switch to the Red Devils can Red Devils move can come together with his current team, bottom of the Premier League. And then ideally, Man United want to recruit from within the Premier League. And about Elliot Anderson, Adam Wharton in mind, they've also made checks on Yarmouk from Brentford as well. Again, he's one we were heavily linked with, and not so much recently, though. Baleba's on their list, and some outlets have claimed he is the top priority, although it does not seem to be the case right now, as Man United are unconvinced of his valuation of over £100 million, particularly during a season where he is struggling to find form. And I would suggest that that's probably realistic as well, that because his form has fallen off a cliff. It's not even like he's just putting in average performances. He has been absolutely terrible in some games, no more than so against us when I was watching him heavily as well, to see what all the attention is for the £100 million. I don't think he was anywhere near that against us, and especially when you compare him to how well Anderson played against us, for example. But yeah, so according to Dean Jones, maybe we are starting to put the feels out a little bit for Joao Gomes to see whether just make him aware that actually maybe we are interested in the move in January if we can do a deal with Wolves. I mean, they might turn around and say absolutely not, we're not selling anyone, we want to try and stay in the Premier League, in which case that's obviously down to them. Player might not want to come. We don't know any of that information as of now, but yeah, interesting one. We'll pay attention to that because there's seems to be a little bit more noise potentially regarding Joao Gomes. And I would be, if you go for Gomes at a cheaper cost than what Baleba is going to cost you, and then go for Elliot Anderson in the summer, I'm absolutely cool with that. Being completely truthful with you, I think that would be, a good, potentially a good partnership. Gomes and Anderson in midfield, I can see them complementing each other. But long way to go. I'm getting giddy. I'm getting ahead of myself. Give us your shouts on that though in the comments below. Now, going back to what Romano had to say on the podcast, he said Antoine Semenyo is a player really appreciated by Amorim and on the club's list last summer. But at the moment, the club is very happy with the players they have in that position. So I think Romano's kind of distancing United from a move for Semenyo in January. And I can kind of see that because, again, it's a lot of money for a player that would be a rotation potentially that you'd have to then rotate around with Cunha and Mbumo and Sesko when he's fit and available. It's not believed that we would push him to one of the wing-back positions. And if we did, maybe he wouldn't want to come anyway. Liverpool are still seen as the front runners for making a move for Semenyo. So I think Romano's suggesting there that actually, yes, we were interested in the summer, but just because we were interested in the summer, we pivoted and got Bryan Mbumo, and we're happy with Bryan Mbumo. So I think he's sort of distancing potentially United making a move for Semenyo in January. We'll never say never though, because anything can happen, anything could change. We could get a massive injury to one of our forwards, in which case it might force us to do something in January. Player might agitate for a move and say, I only want to come to United, in which case we may make a decision from there. But feels a little bit unlikely, the Semenyo move at the moment. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. And another move that feels a little bit unlikely with a player that we've been linked with recently is Adeyemi. So Borussia Dortmund want a minimum of £61.5 million to sanction the sale of Manchester United target Karim Adeyemi in the January transfer window, according to Sky Sport Germany. It is added that United's interest in the German is strong, and his agent George Mendes is in talks with clubs, including the Reds, while Arsenal remain among the others keen on the player. And again, I feel I haven't changed my opinion on Adeyemi. I still feel this is just agent talk, trying to get either the contract or putting his name out there and trying to get attention for his client. There's no better way to do that than like loads of Man United are interested in your stories. That's how I personally feel around Adeyemi. But and the Mirror have come out saying that Manchester United are bracing themselves for disappointment in their bids to sign Karim Adeyemi. United have not been keeping. United have been keeping close tabs on the Borussia Dortmund forward in the hope of luring him to Old Trafford. Club bosses have sounded out Adeyemi's agent George Mendes about the chances of striking a deal next summer, but United manager Ruben Amorim is preparing to turn his attentions elsewhere in his attempts to land a new goal scorer. Dortmund have slapped a £75 million price tag on the German international, which is more than United are willing to pay. I agree with that. And to make matters worse, Adeyemi has made it clear that if he leaves Dortmund ahead of next season, his preferred destination is Arsenal, not United. So there seems to be a little bit less reporting, or it seems that the Adeyemi one is less and less likely for those that did think it was possible, or were maybe getting their hopes up of going for Adeyemi. Doesn't feel like that's going to be possible at this particular moment in time. But again, that does. Some of the reports are saying a summer deal anyway, and there's a lot that can happen and change between now and then anyway. But we'll pay attention to it, keep an eye on it. I'm sure we're going to consistently get linked with like Semenyo and Adeyemi because we get consistently linked with a lot of players all the time. But give us your thoughts on that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on all the other topics discussed in today's video. That's you all up to date with the latest news and transfer updates. Don't forget, smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.